In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to replace the front anti-roll bar bushes on a Nissan 350z, also how to future-proof the components and the bolts and the area that they're mounted to, and also some tips and tricks so you can avoid the rusty bolts snapping, breaking, all that sort of stuff on your inevitably rusty 22-year-old Nissan. Guys, just before we start, I just wanted to run you through some of the tools and sort of accessory parts you're going to need to take on this job. It's not an horrendous amount of stuff, but there's just a few things you might want to sort of consider when taking on a job such as this. First of all, you're obviously going to need some kind of tool set like ratchets, extensions, and decent sized sockets and stuff like that. An assortment of sizes is fine. Now, this also saves me a lot of time. These are survivor sockets, they're bladed sockets, they sort of get off rounded nuts. You'll see later in the video why I needed that. You probably need a decent kind of mallet-y hammer just to sort of knock them on or sort of knock parts off if you sort of need that. A good sized torch, a breaker bar of some kind potentially can make this easier if you don't have an impact gun like I do. I don't like to use these all the time. I like to crack nut off first with this and then hit them with this, but these do save a lot of time. I'm not saying it's necessary, but they do save a hell of a lot of time. They're moving into sort of helping you get the parts off. Can't stress this enough how much you want to invest in a cheap little blow lamp. This is just a butane gas lamp. You sort of turn it on, light it with a lighter and hold it on the parts to heat them up. Heat is your friend when it comes to stuff like this. And then following on from that, we've got things like WD-40's penetrant and also engine and parts degreaser if you want to do a bit of cleaning. And then in terms of cleaning of the parts up and making them fresh and making them last longer and doing that sort of preventative maintenance, a drill with a wire brush attachment to get rid of all that cruddy old rust. And then after that, you want to sort of get some like Q-rust from Hammerite here, and then also probably some spray paint if you do want to clean up the parts and do some of that preventative maintenance. Guys, not a massive amount here, so let's get on with the install. You're obviously also going to need an axle stand set and a jack. So the first thing to do is obviously jack up your car. So yeah, jack up your car and put it on axle stands. I found the best place is right here on the subframe. These are the anti-roll bar mounts, very old and very crusty. There are 4 bolts and 1 nut on the location thread. This nut is very stripped and old, so I'll be showing you how to get this off without breaking it. First, I soak all the bolts in WD-40's penetrating oil and then leave them for about 10 to 20 minutes to soak. Using a 14mm on my breaker bar, I try to break them loose. A tip here is to tighten slightly, then untighten, then retighten, and keep doing this over and over to break the rust seal. Keep pressure on the bolt as to not strip or snap it, and eventually it should turn free. If it's being stubborn, get some heat on it. For bolts, heat around the area, and for nuts, heat the nut directly. Doing this for about 5 minutes on each one helps them come off a lot easier because, well, science. I'm going to speed up this bit with my impact gun. And now it's time to turn my attention to this strip nut. Take a 14mm survival socket and whack it on until it's tight and grips onto the nut. Then, as you can see, it does turn off on the thread. Like before, penetrating oil and heat can help out a lot. So I can then pull the mount off. And this is the old rubber bush, and it's probably as old as the car, so it is worth replacing. Onto the other side, and I've already cracked the bolts loose here, so I'm impacting them on to save time. Once you've done this roll bar can swing down and rest on the subframe. You can then remove the other bracket and bush. There is an upper part to the mount with the final bolt. And these are the mounting areas. They are quite grubby, so I'm going to revive them a bit. First, a quick wire wheel to remove all the rusty metal and paint and dirt. And then I'm going to use Coup Rust to coat onto the metal so it helps turn it back into a solid form. And while that dries, I'm going to turn my attention to the mounts. These are the mounts. Dirty, rusty and ugly. So let's clean them up a bit. First, I use a wire wheel to make them smooth and clean. Then again, I take the Coup Rust and coat them all and wait for that to dry. I can then give them a nice touch up with some paint. And this is why it's worth doing. Look at that difference. Now for reassembly. Put the base part of the mount back in and rebolt it down. Then put your new polyurethane roll bar bush onto the bar. Be aware these can be way tighter than the standard rubber ones, so be prepared for some fighting. Then slot the other part of the mount over the top. Now, I found putting the nut on first but not tightening it down is the best way to start. Keep pushing and pulling the roll bar around until you can get all the bolts in each holes. Then tighten them down equally until equal pressure is applied across the mount. And there we have it, two brand new Polybushed anti-roll bar mounts and cleaned up mounts and a polished up roll bar. They do look very good if I do say so myself. Will it be a noticeable change? Probably not, but it's another part that's future proofed and ready for more road and potentially some track action. So that is the end of the video, guys. The anti-roll bar bushes are in. Particularly any different, I didn't think they would. You've only replaced like one component, but inevitably they're going to sort of aid, especially if you do like hard cornering and stuff, because poly bushes are better than rubber bushes. That's just a fact. So yeah, pretty easy install, and I say I like to future-proof everything I take off, because then you don't have to worry about it again in the future. Hope you learned some tips and tricks on how to get rusty bolts off so you don't snap them. But yeah, apart from that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something. Hope you can do this yourself on your car, because it's quite a little mod. It's not too difficult. It's not too expensive either. So as always, guys, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to leave me a comment so I know what you sort of thought of the video. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're over 2,000 now. We're heading for 10,000. So I want you to be one of those 10,000 subscribers. As always, guys, keep enjoying those modified cars, and I will see you in my next video.